Turning now to your weekend forecast as we take a live look this morning from Buckeye Lake. We've been telling you all morning to stay weather aware with those very cold temperatures outside. Brittany, what are some of the risks for this type of weather?
Well, the main risk really is what people do inside. It's not something that, you really think about. You think, oh, I need to stay warm. So you bring space heaters inside, you turn on the fireplace, you forget about it. Well, that can cause things like carbon monoxide poisoning. It can cause a fire. And so we just really have to make sure that any precautions that we're taking, we are turning them off, unplugging them, especially before we go to bed at night, because, you think about that. It happens also sometimes during hurricanes. People will bring in generators inside, things like that, and it can cause carbon monoxide. So we just really have to think about, these extra steps that we're taking. We got to make sure we kind of turn them off if there's something that can cause issues, before we go to bed or we're incapacitated in any way. So with that being said, this morning is not the coldest morning of the weekend. We actually are going to get even colder tomorrow. So just be mindful of this, folks. Another thing to remember too, and you probably remember this if you've ever lost power before, similar to, you lose power, you don't want to open the refrigerator because you don't want your things to get spoiled, so you try to avoid opening it as much as possible. Similarly to doors and things like that outside, try to avoid going outside and opening windows as much as possible because you're letting out that warm air. If you can kind of try to avoid that as much as possible, you can actually help keep your home a little bit more insulated. Another way you can do that too is actually opening up the blinds, things like that. That will help heat your home because of the fact that it's so sunny today. Temperature and wind chill out there right now. Temperature at 25, wind chill at 16. So we are finally starting to warm up slightly. The low this morning was 22 in Charlotte, but it is still biting folks like crazy. Currently right now, Boone and Jefferson, 7 below zero. It still feels like about 12 to 13 below in places like Beach Mountain and Sugar Mountain. And you can see everywhere else still feeling like 20 or below that. So it still doesn't feel great across the region. Now, at least from now through at least the noontime hour, places like Ash, Watauga, Avery, and the mountains of Burke and Caldwell are going to feel anywhere from 10 to 15 below zero. However, notice as we go hour by hour for Futurecast, these areas are likely going to feel below zero at least through all of today and into tomorrow morning. So they're probably not going to get above zero for the wind chills. Across the Charlotte area, our high is 35, but we're probably going to feel around 25 or so, mid-20s for most of the day, with feels like temperatures in the foothills in the upper teens. So it really won't feel great for the majority of the afternoon. Now, later on today, we really do hit our highest feels like temperature, 25 or so in Charlotte. Then tonight we bottom out. It's our lowest low likely we've seen so far this year, but this season so far, the coldest likely that we're seeing since December of 2022. And then also our lowest wind chill values. Right now it looks like 6 degrees in Charlotte for what it feels like tomorrow morning. Thankfully, or hopefully, you're not like Kaylin and myself. You don't have to come to work that early tomorrow morning. 11 and 15 respectively for what it'll feel like tomorrow morning for most of the mountains. Now this morning we haven't seen a lot of snow in the mountains, but they could see a few more flakes flying for the rest of the day, and that will allow for new snowfall accumulations of 1 to 2 inches, especially along those highest elevations. So if you do look at some of those cameras that we have on our website, or you've seen them so far this morning, it does look pretty out there. Now, we, of course, haven't seen snow in the Charlotte area so far this season, and we're not going to see it anytime soon, unfortunately. Once we get past the period of this prolonged cold the next 2 days, look how much we warm up. We completely flip the script. 35 is the forecast high temperature today. We actually go all the way up to 70 by the end of the upcoming week. But look what comes with it. A lot of warm and moist air, allowing for prolonged periods of rain. So we really completely changed the forecast to a complete 180 from really significant cold to really warm air, Kaylin, for this time of year.